Going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Celtics Talk Weekly. I am your host, Rob Atayan. I'm with my two co-hosts, Justin Lowe and Ian Angelo. Today, we have a great podcast ahead of you. We got a special guest, Celtics Everyday. Seamus, thanks for coming on, man. Super excited to talk all things Celtics with you. I say it every day, every episode. You guys probably get annoyed with it, but go follow us on our social medias, Celtics Talk Weekly. We'd appreciate it. And we have a special announcement. Today is a great day to start your own podcast. Whether you're looking for a new marketing channel, have a message you want to share with the world, or just think it would be a fun way to talk to your friends. Podcasting is an easy, inexpensive, and fun way to expand and reach online people. Buzzsprout is hands down the easiest and best way to launch, promote, and track your podcast. Your show can be online and listened to in all the major podcast directories like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and much more within minutes of finishing your recording. Podcasting is not hard when you have the right partners, and the team at Buzzsprout is passionate about helping you succeed. Sign up now using the link in our Instagram bio, and you get $20 of Amazon gift cards sent your way. We would appreciate it, guys. And let's get right into the episode. So
he practiced that a lot. I did. He practiced that a lot, by the way.
Hey, first take this time. That was pretty good.
Okay, so usually it's 2 or 3 takes, but we got Celtics training camp starting up in less than a month. Basketball is finally coming back. What are you guys looking for out of the C's during training camp this year?
I don't know. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this team meshes together with all the new pieces that they acquired. You know, you got guys, that are coming back like Tatum and Brown and Smart and them. But you also have the new guys like Schroeder who, we'll have to see what he does and like how he fits in with the rest of the system. But I kind of want to see how they all mesh together during training camp.
I just want to see them come out healthy, whether that be through training camp, through preseason, through that, we get a week break in between preseason and regular season. Like you had mentioned, Ian, Jaylen Brown, we've seen him practicing with the Summer League team in Vegas. He looks pretty good from the footage we've seen. Hopefully he can get into more contact practice. I know he's kind of been limited this offseason. So my big focus is maybe looking at Jalen Brown. Obviously, I want to see guys improve. I want to see the new guys improve. But I'm really looking at Jalen Brown and seeing if he can stay healthy.
I think training camp is important to having a good season overall. I mean, from just covering the Celtics since 2016, the correlation between a good training camp and a good team, I mean, they're right on line. I like when teams go elsewhere to train. Every team usually trains in their own city, but like that one year, I don't remember where the Celtics went. I believe it was to Rhode Island. I'm not exactly sure where they went, but that set a tone within the team of bonding and team togetherness. And I would like to see that this year with this team. I don't know if that's going to happen just because of all the COVID restrictions they still have, but I think that would be a good idea moving forward, even into next season, if the team looks different then. Training camp, though, this year, I believe is going to be a big factor in telling whether this team is ready to compete or not.
For sure. And something, I think is very interesting about this training camp is that not only do we kind of have a revamped roster for the first time, and I'd say about 4 or 5 years, but we also have a new coach for the first time in like 9 years. Now that Brad Stevens out, Ime Udoka's in. So I think it's really something that us Celtics fans have to look at is how is Ime going to start running the show? Right, because obviously he's stressed a lot. He wants to see a lot out of Tatum and Brown in terms of playmaking and sharing, distributing the basketball. So, what's that going to look like? I think training camp is going to give us a good sense about where is Ime, what direction is Ime going in.
Definitely.
But
Definitely.
We do have a trade to talk about. We haven't talked about it. It's kind of old news, but we haven't talked about it on the podcast yet. It was kind of a interesting trade, I thought. Boston gave up Chris Dunn, Carson Edwards, and a second-round pick swap to the Minnesota Timberwolves in exchange for Juancho Hernan-Gomez. How do you guys feel about this?
Honestly, I'm not going to lie to you. When I first saw the trade, I was actually kind of excited for it. I can't remember if it was last year or a couple years ago where Hernangomez, he actually wasn't terrible. Like, he was a pretty solid contributor on the Timberwolves at that point. I think it was the Timberwolves or it was the Grizzlies. I don't know. I can't remember. It was one of those two. But I think it was him, and I think Nuggets, that was the one. Sorry. I completely forgot about that. But yeah, I remember there was one season where he did really well. And I mean, it was kind of sad to lose Carson Edwards, and we never got to see the Celtics legend Chris Dunn play a game, but I think overall it was a pretty good trade.
So I don't know what you guys think, Justin or Seamus, but I was excited to see Chris Dunn, but I also do think this kind of filled a hole. I don't love the trade. I don't hate it. I don't love it, though. It kind of filled that hole we were lacking off the bench to someone to kind of properly play the four behind Tatum. I think it was in the direction we were going. It was leading to either Al or Rob Williams, whoever doesn't start, to play the four. And I think this trade kind of pushes either one of those two back down to the backup five, and that's kind of huge in terms of spacing. I mean, Juancho can shoot. So I don't love it, but I think rotationally, I think it was a solid move.
Yeah, it definitely brings some nice depth. I don't know how much. I'm going to be honest with you. I do not know much about Hernangomez. I know more about Willie Hernangomez, rightfully so. He's the better out of the three brothers. But I think I'll judge it off of what I see in the preseason. I think we'll see, usually in the preseason, we see a lot of bench players, guys looking for a roster spot, maybe a spot in the rotation. So I'll be able to judge it better off of that. It just, it stinks Carson Edwards couldn't really find his niche here in Boston. I mean, we saw stints where if you guys remember that Clippers game this year in LA, Carson Edwards stepped up big. I think he had 16, 18 points. And when he gets going. He looked great in the summer league, with rightfully so he should have, because this is, I believe, his third or fourth year into the league. Yeah. So, I think I'll be able to judge it more once I see it on the court.
Yeah, I think Carson kind of fell short.
Yeah, Carson Edwards. I mean, if you look at Carson Edwards and where he's at in his career, I don't think he gets any minutes on next year's team at all. I mean, if you look at the guard depth, you have Marcus Smart, Dennis Schroeder. I mean, you had Chris Dunn above him, and Chris traded along with him. If you look at the roster as a whole, the Celtics needed a four. Juancho probably isn't their perfect four, but he fits the mold of in terms of versatile defender, can shoot the three, can stretch the floor. That's kind of what you want within a four nowadays. He's not the beefiest of fours. Like, he's not going to be someone who goes up against a Blake Griffin or a Paul Millsap in Brooklyn, but he can certainly space the floor, and that's probably one of the most important things that he does on the floor. And this is something that, I don't know if you guys watched the Garden Report or not, but A. Sherrod Blakely goes on there and he goes, totally agree with this point. We need skill players who have a certain skill. Last year, we just had a lot of guys running around, not really fitting any type of mold. The Shimmy Ojales, the Grant Williams. I know I've went on a Grant Williams campaign, but I can't defend him to, that extent. You have guys like that who don't really harbor any particular skill. Yet now you bring in guys like Hernangomez in this trade who can shoot the three and be a versatile defender on the other end of the floor as a near 7-footer. I mean, I love this trade for the Celtics in terms of roster balance.
I think Juan Hernangomez is maybe a little less physical and maybe dominant than a Daniel Tice, where Daniel Tice was a great defender. He could stretch the floor. Maybe not as aggressive and as dominant as Daniel Tice might have been, but Seamus, you kind of said it perfectly. It kind of fits where today's NBA is going. And if you watch the NBA and if you watch Celtics basketball, you see a lot of driving and kicking. So when you have that extra fourth man out there who can shoot the three ball, everything becomes so much easier. And it really allows the floor to space out well. And we know how Tatum and Brown can work when the floor is spaced out. We know what those guys can do. So that, I think Juan Hernangomez, although you'll see him coming off the bench and seeing him play with, the second and third string guys, I think, when he's in the game with Tatum and Brown, those three are going to have a pretty good time together.
Well, something interesting I thought Seamus brought up was he does he's not the biggest of fours,
Mhm.
right? But we've seen, like we said, we have Emi now at coaching, so we don't know what it's going to look like in terms if we run too much small ball. But if we're going based off of a Brad Stevens system, we saw a lot of Grant Williams playing the 5, and Grant's right around 6'6", 6'5". So I think this is kind of interesting because obviously Grant had his struggles, and personally I'm not the biggest Grant Williams fan. It's kind of an ongoing joke, but
No, it's not. He likes Grant Williams. He paid 350. What was it, Ian? How much was
it? Was 150 for the cameo.
150 for the cameo, Seamus. He paid 150 for
I was
the
going
cameo.
to say that too. I wasn't trying to get too off topic, but I was going to say thank you for bringing up Grant Williams because it's something me and Justin are trying to bring up every single show, whether we get it in there or not.
They think they're super funny. But my point is that Juancho, right? I think he shot 42% from the 3, right? So he can if he gets fire, he could maybe find himself getting right around bottom of the 8, 9, 10 man, 8 minutes a game type of rotation. I don't think he's going to make a huge impact, but I think in terms of rotational, I think he's a better player to have in the depth chart over Chris Dunn. Edwards, it sucks to see him go, but he gave us nothing in Boston. He was an undersized guard who was going to play behind Pritchard and Dunn anyway. And like you said, Schroeder and Smart, who are going to eat up all the guard minutes anyway. So, you hate to see that. But this brings us to another point. We have a little segment. We tried to do a segment not too long ago, and it went horribly wrong. Now, I'm not going to blame. So we recorded this segment, and we never got posted because Justin's mic bugged out, Ian. And we're not going to say it was you, but it went smoothly. So we're going to see how this
segment goes.
We addressed that too. And we said that. We said this is going swimmingly. Ian should be less a part of the segment.
But the segment is winners and losers.
All right.
So I'm gonna give you guys some teams right around 10, 12. You guys are going to tell me. We're going to just go around each person. Are they a winner? Are they a loser? We'll address why after. But
Ian and Seamus go before me. You both go before me because I might base my answer.
Justin just doesn't like when someone else has a different opinion. So
no, I don't care. Hey, I'm all for it.
So first team, the Los Angeles Lakers. Are they a winner? Or are they a loser?
I think they're a winner. I mean, you can't lose when you get an all-star level player like Russell Westbrook, and you got guys like Kendrick Nunn and Malik Monk, who I think they're both under 25, who signed veteran minimums to be on your team just to be as depth. So I'll call that a win.
I mean, I'll go both answers. They're winners for now, but they will be losers in the end. They're winners for now for upgrading their team and really putting themselves in title conversation yet again, because I think after last season, there were some real questions around the Lakers, whether or not they would be, competitive coming into this season. If they didn't, if they didn't make the right moves, who knows? They're loaded this year. But in the end, I do believe there are teams better than the Lakers. They're super old. I don't think it can be denied. I know LeBron is putting out the propaganda of washed king and whatnot, and he's joking about it right now. But in the end, I think that is actually something that will catch up to them in time. Is these guys, they're all above 30. I mean, I know you mentioned Nunn and Malik Monk. I don't really know how they fit into the team. Monk fits better than in the end, but I don't think the Lakers in the long run will be at the end with all these other younger, more talented teams.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that.
Two names that were not said, which is fine, totally fine. But I think first of all, I think they're winners.
Me and Justin finally agree on something.
I think adding back Dwight Howard and Rajon Rondo helped them with their depths a lot. I do. I really like those two on the Lakers back in 2020. I like them on now. I understand they're a little bit older. So Seamus, I agree with you on that. You both make really good points, and I think it's is a toss-up. You know what I mean? Their shooting is definitely a loss. They lost Danny Green. They lost who else? Caldwell Pope, Kuzma, who isn't the greatest. He might,
They
but
lost Caruso.
But I think I think Dwight and Drummond switch, I think that's a huge win for the Lakers, in my opinion. Drummond just clearly did not fit in what the Lakers were doing.
So
yeah, Dwight was really important. If you remember in the bubble, he was not in the bubble, but
the
during
center.
that season,
he was
important for that team.
Championship team. Yeah.
So I mean,
I like Seamus's answer because right now they are winners. I think they're kind of winners, and I say kind of because if you play like NBA 2K and you're doing your little My League, right, and you're trying to trade for someone, it's like the Lakers went into the trade finder and scrolled through and found the best overall, and they just took it, right? And if you look at their lineup and you look at their depth chart, there's no shooting, virtually no shooting. Malik Monk's a good shooter, and do they have Caldwell Pope still coming off the bench?
No, they traded him to Washington.
Yeah, so you don't have Caldwell, but you got Monk, who's a good shooter. But other than that, you're going to really struggle. If you look at the history of LeBron James' successful championship teams, right, every team he's been surrounded by a shooter. Mike, like you go back to the Heat days, you got Mike Miller, Mario Chalmers, Shane Battier, Chris Bosh. I mean, these are guys who spread the floor. 2016, they won around Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving, Kyle Korver was on those teams. Everyone that stepped on the court around LeBron could space out and hit the three ball. This team, you have a ball-dominant point guard in Russell Westbrook. You have Anthony Davis, who really can't stay healthy, right? If he is healthy, he's a top 10 player in the league. And then you kind of have guys that don't really space the floor and fit LeBron's system. So I'm going to say neutral. They're not a winner. They're not a loser. Time will tell. They're old. Seamus made a bunch of great points. Next team, however, is a Celtics fan favorite, Philadelphia 76ers. Are they winners or losers? Do we even need to bring this one up? Because I feel like it's too obvious, but go for it anyway.
Losers.
These guys are huge losers.
You suck.
Biggest losers of the offseason.
Their biggest loser was not trading Ben Simmons. That was their biggest problem. And the fact that they wanted, we remember last season when James Harden was trying to get traded, and we heard Philadelphia trading Ben Simmons for James Harden, and we all thought, that's a pretty solid trade. They seem to be both at a somewhat kind of that level caliber player. And now we think of it now, and they're trying to get a guy like Damian Lillard or maybe even Bradley Beal. I'm not sure what they're really trying to do at this point. But, I mean, Ben Simmons does not have the same value he had last year or even before the playoffs at this point. So, they're losers.
Ben Simmons, the fact that he's still on the Sixers, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do. This is the rarest situation in NBA history. I don't think we've ever seen anything like it at all, because you have one side who thinks he's a bona fide all-star and is worth multiple first-round picks, and then you have 29 other teams who saw exactly what happened in the playoffs and have no interest in trading for him right now whatsoever, especially with his contract. I don't know what happens. It sounds like Ben Simmons suit up with the again, but in my view, it's probably best if he does, just to raise his trade value at any. Like right now, his trade value is some first round picks, maybe some picks. How many players are teams throwing at teams or for this at the Sixers for Ben Simmons?
Not a lot.
I don't.
Here's a better question.
I don't see it. I don't see a trade happening right now at all. However, I could definitely see a team, say, 10 games into the season go, okay, we're the Sacramento Kings, we're the Minnesota Timberwolves. We've never had stars here, never had legitimate stars here, or we've had stars here but not paired them up with stars. Let's go get Ben Simmons.
Yeah, but actually, before you go, Justin, I have one thing to ask. What team actually needs Ben Simmons right now? What team is in a position where they I can only think of
Minnesota Timberwolves,
the Timberwolves, maybe the Cavaliers if they trade Colin Sexton, and I don't know, Portland if you trade CJ McCollum.
I hate to jump in front of you, Justin, but that's
Morey
a good
wants
point.
Lillard.
And so I think Ben Simmons is not as good as the Sixers think he is, obviously, right? I personally wouldn't put him as an all-star caliber player on Philadelphia. However, I think if you put him in a situation in Minnesota where he's around a floor space in Karl Anthony Towns who can stretch the floor, right? And he has talent around him where he can, get rebounds, dish, and he doesn't need to have the ball in his hands and late in games, he can succeed. However, shooting his free throw shooting does need to improve. That's, no question about it. I just think he is in such an awful situation in terms of when the best player around Ben Simmons is a post dominant back to the basket big who really can't leave the paint to be successful is a problem. So I think if you put him in Minnesota, he could succeed. I don't know what you think about that, Justin.
I am just Jesus Christ, guys. What else can we say about the Philadelphia 76ers team? Seamus says, which I agree with. This is so strange. How weird is it that we are, 2 or 3 weeks away from training camp, and Ben Simmons is still a Philadelphia 76er?
He's coming out and saying, I'm not suiting. Like, he has said, I will pay.
Okay, he can say what he wants. He's still a 76er.
No, I know, but it's at a point where the front office isn't even accepting the fact that he's not going to be with them. You have to move him.
It's kind of like they're brainwashed. It's kind of like they're brainwashed. And this is ridiculous that I'm going to say this because clearly the topic's on Ben Simmons, but I think they downgraded so much at their backup center position. I cannot tell you how bad I dislike that move. And I know I'm a Celtics fan, so I should root for Philadelphia's bad moves, but them, letting Dwight Howard walk and then getting Andre Drummond, to me, that just doesn't make sense to me. Other than rebounding, what does Andre Drummond do? He doesn't bring anything. It actually hurts them defensively, and they're really a defensive-minded team. He can't shoot the three ball, which is another thing the Sixers can be known for. So it just seems like a pointless pickup to me. And also, I'm not so sold on this Philadelphia team, even if they were to keep Ben Simmons and things were to be okay. It was pretty evident that the 76ers wanted to get rid of this guy literally in the closing press conferences of that Game 7. Doc Rivers literally was talking about how Ben Simmons needs to get into the gym and work on his shit. I don't normally swear on this podcast, but it's common sense though, is it not?
No,
and he's still a 76er.
So it made sense to me at first where they were asking, right? Like, sell high. You always want to see what you can get. That made sense, right? I was like, okay, they're asking for this. They're testing the waters. Sure. And then mid-July hit, right? The NBA Finals just finished, and they were still, right, the draft passed. They were still asking for, high value. And I was thinking, how long is this going to go on for, right? Like you got to move him. When he's coming out and he's saying he's not answering Joel Embiid's phone calls. He's telling the team he's not reporting to training camp, right? Rich Paul's trying to get him, not only Ben Simmons, but Tyrese Maxey, who's his other client, out of Philadelphia, right? And Philadelphia is still out here asking for two good players, 4 picks, right? Multiple first-round picks, all-stars in return. And you have 29 other. Seamus said it best. You have 29. The entire league is like, what the hell are you doing? And the Sixers will not budge. It's just, I've never seen it. I completely think it's ridiculous. However, we do have to move on to the next team. Golden State Warriors, are they winners or losers?
That's right. We're still doing a segment.
Yeah.
Golden State Warriors. That's interesting. I don't really know, honestly. I can't really. I honestly have no idea. I can't even.
Here and out speed rounds. Just winner or loser. What would you say?
I'm neutral because honestly, I don't really know. To be honest, I can't remember who the Warriors got. I remember they lost. They lost Kelly Oubre.
They added Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, Otto Porter.
Klay Thompson, they get back.
All right, well, Klay's coming back from injury, but I mean, I guess I'll say a W just because they're coming back.
That's a W. So. That's a W for me.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, if Klay is Klay, then that's a W. But I don't like all the young guys on the roster. I mean, I would have liked to see them package something for another. I think they're still winners because Clay's coming back. Iggy's coming back as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
Iggy, they brought in Iggy.
I forgot about
They
that.
still have Curry.
All right, so Atlanta Hawks, winners or losers?
Winners.
Ooh, I would say losers personally.
I like the fact that they got John Collins. They locked him up. They locked up Trae Young.
I think.
Other than that, though, I guess you could say I'm neutral about it. I know it's quick, but I guess you could say I'm neutral. There's a few moves I like. And
they went with the run it back, I feel like.
Yeah. I feel like I'm neutral.
They ran it back. But I'm not a fan of the whole John Collins contract. I know like there's really no path to get out of that. I mean, what are you going to do? Let him go into restricted free agency and walk and let him walk for nothing or have him for one season, then he's out again. I think there was no path, but I don't like the number. I don't like, what was it, $25 million for John Collins?
Capella.
Like, that's a lot.
They paid a lot for Capella too. Don't forget that. They gave Capella the money. All right, next one we have the Los Angeles Clippers. Are they winners or losers?
Losers.
Losers, yeah.
Yeah,
Kawhi
they have to
not
be
going to
losers.
be back.
Yeah.
Big losers. Not only did they lose Kawhi for a season due to injury, but they lost a lot of depth. They lost Patrick Beverley. They lost Rajon Rondo. It's DeMarcus Cousins coming back. Do you know?
I think he was on a 1-year deal, so I think he's still a free agent. All right, so we have two more teams.
Wait. I have one more thought on the Clippers before we move on.
Oh, go for it. Go for it.
The Clippers might actually be winners because they locked up their biggest endorsement player for the next 4 years, Kawhi Leonard.
Okay. All right, that's a fair point. I think, and I also do think they could be winners if Kawhi wasn't hurt. I think that's a valid point to make. So it just so happens their star players hurt. We got two more. One of them, Brooklyn Nets, winners or losers? I'm going to say mega winners.
Winners.
It's not
they
even
were
close.
winners if
They're
they did
huge
nothing
winners.
in free agency at this point.
Yeah, they lacked depth, and then they're like, all right, let me sign Patty Mills, Paul Millsap,
Blake Griffin came back.
LaMarcus
I do
Aldridge
think losing
is back.
They lost Shamet and they lost Green. I do think they're going to feel effects of that. But
I think Jeff Green will be their biggest miss they'll suffer from. But other than that, there's no question they're winners. They were winners when they got Patty Mills, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah,
if they're all healthy next year,
it's can they stay healthy? Yeah. Can they stay healthy?
Well, they also got Blake on a
Boston
better minimum. Huge steal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, it was I thought it was veterans. Really, I thought it was a 2-year. Oh wow, it was I didn't know that. So yeah, I say Brooklyn's easy top one or number one biggest winner. Last team, Boston Celtics. Are we winners or are we losers?
For the situation we're in, I think we're winners. You can say maybe neutral. I definitely don't think we're losers. I mean, the situation, and for the people who don't know the Celtics situation, it's one thing if you think we're losers and you understand the situation, but if you think we're losers and you don't understand what the Celtics have gone through the past year, I don't know if I can agree with that. But I think we're somewhat winners. I think what Brad Stevens did is he replaced a lot of players this offseason. We kind of talked about this a lot, Rob, where Danny Ainge didn't really replace players. It was kind of his thing. Unfortunately, Ray Allen was gone. Avery Bradley came in. We didn't get anyone to replace him.
Gordon Hayward,
Kyrie Irving,
Al Horford,
Marcus Morris, Terry Rozier.
Yeah. Although he signed and trade Rozier.
I mean, it was a sign and trade with Rozier, but
yeah.
Look at the end result. But I guess we could say that with a lot of things. But I think for the situation, I think we're winners. Maybe not mega winners, but I think we're decent.
Yeah, we are. I'm going to disagree with you because I think we are mega winners. After what happened last season was atrocious. It was after we made the Eastern Conference Finals, 3 out of the last 4 years. We go out in the first round to the Brooklyn Nets, a team that holds our old star point guard, Kyrie Irving. We have 2 young superstar wings on our roster. I don't know. Some people might say they aren't superstars, but they're certain stars. They're all stars.
We need
to capitalize on this. We need to capitalize on this. and we're only guaranteed the next 3-4 years with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Those 3 or 4 years are going to fly by really quick. We can't dilly-dally with, okay, we hope Shimi Ojale is Carson Edwards is a player. Romeo Langford is a player. You could even go up and say Pritchard and Neesmith. They're really just they still need to develop, but they play their roles perfectly on this team. But we needed to acquire real NBA talent around these guys, and we got Dennis Schroeder, we got Al Horford and Kemba Walker. Getting off his contract was massive. Okay, huge. It was insanely huge because that hampered the team financially over the last 2 seasons, and it would have continued to hamper them over the next 2 seasons as well. So I don't really see a way in how we didn't win in this offseason. The only way I could see this going potentially wrong is Dennis Schroeder just for some reason thinks it's his team, and Mart thinks it's his team, and someone else apparently thinks it's his team, and we just have this whole group of egos that explode like it did in 2018-19. But
thank God.
I was just going to say that.
Thank God Grant Williams does not have that type of ego. You know what I mean, Rob?
He's going to play his
Grant
role.
Williams playing anything?
All right. So anyway, but yes, the Celtics.
Because he was talking about big egos. Grant doesn't have big ego.
All right.
I think.
So yes, the Celtics. Are, sorry, Rob.
No, you go. No, I don't even want to talk at that point. Justin just pissed me off.
All right, but yes, the Celtics are winners. What have we been saying over the past year? We've been saying we need veteran depth. We need legitimate NBA players. There's only so many times that we can sign a guy like Jabari Parker or, trade for Luke Cornett. Those guys, yes, are NBA players, but they're not legitimate NBA players like Josh Richardson, like Dennis Schroeder, like Al Horford in a case. So I think the Celtics automatically win, and unless last year happens again, I don't see how we could lose this year.
To go along with your point, Seamus, what also could make us mega winners was the type of contracts that we have these players on.
Yeah.
Right? Where you're not going to get a Dennis Schroeder again for $5 million.
No.
You can even argue if Jabari Parker has somewhat of a breakout year, and he's only 26 years old, what's held him back so far is injuries. What if he has a year?
He has like an Evan Turner type year.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think for the type of contracts.
But imagine.
Now, Seamus, when I said I don't think the Celtics might be mega winners, I'm talking mega winners comparing it to like the Brooklyn Nets. That's what I meant by that.
Title can
exactly.
So hear me out. I've been stressing this all. If you listen to the podcast normally, I've been stressing it all off season. Was prior to free agency starting, I was like, we don't need all superstars. We don't need superstars, right? Enough of these these 29, 30-year-old stars we're bringing in, right, that go nowhere. We pay them too much money and whatever. So, because I think these past 3 seasons, after the 2018 year, or maybe even after Kyrie left, we were in a really awkward stage where we didn't know whose team, right, air quotes, team this was. We still had Hayward, who was like an all-star. Is he an all-star? We had Kemba, who we just brought in, who was an all-NBA, prior season. So we kind of didn't know. And then, 2020 rolls around. We're on a roll, right? We're third, second in the East. NBA gets shut down. We go to the bubble. We have star power. We have Hayward. We have Tatum. We have Brown. And we have Kemba. And, the East wasn't really built for that yet. And then we lose Hayward. Kemba's knees go out. And then we had virtually no depth. We had no depth at all, and we didn't have that firepower anymore of that big four. So I think this season is where we felt like the fact that Luke Cornett and Semi Ojeleye had games started is just proof in itself to how weak we were. So adding Dennis Schroeder, huge. Bringing back Al Horford, I think people are underlooking that. Al Horford, his numbers went up from 2 seasons ago this year. He got better. Like, obviously he's old, but his numbers went up, right?
They had to stop playing him because they were winning games.
Yeah. So Al Horford.
Exactly.
And let's not act like Al Horford he wasn't. I'm not saying he's going to be an all-star, right? But when he 3 seasons ago when he was with us, he was an all-star. So this Al Horford's going to make a big impact, right? Dennis Schroeder.
Also, he's the Joel Embiid and Giannis stopper. So.
Yeah,
Yes.
Dennis Schroeder. Less than 365 days ago, Dennis Schroeder went to the Lakers, and people were calling him the third piece to their super team. So we added Dennis Schroeder on a $5 million contract. Huge, right? You look at the financial aspect of it. Huge winners. We dumped Kemba. You look at the roster and the depth aspect of it. We added depth. Obviously we didn't get a superstar, but I'd say we're huge winners for sure.
And we haven't had like a quote, maybe two-way. I air quote it because maybe you consider this guy a two-way player back then or not. But I wouldn't say we had a good defensive, offensive point guard since maybe the Rajon Rondo days. Like Isaiah Thomas, Kyrie Irving, Kemba Walker, hella great scorers. They've done great for the franchise, but
I don't think Schroeder's like the best defender. I just think the great thing about Schroeder is he's got that dog mentality.
Yeah,
he's on the court, he's up in your face, he's pressing 24/7, he's pushing the pace. You're down 10. Schroeder's going to be that guy who's like in your time, like facing the timeout, saying, get your shit together, like let's do this, like, and that's what Dennis Schroeder brings. And he's a good playmaker, good scorer.
And I think Go ahead.
So I was just going to say, I want to see a one-on-one matchup in practice with Dennis Schroeder and Marcus Smart. I just want to see what that looks like. That would be – I would pay to see that. That would be pretty entertaining.
I think
no one would score a point.
Yeah,
probably.
Mark. I was going to say, I think Marcus Smart.
Out on each other.
He's chucking the whole match, man. It's Marcus Smart in practice.
Yeah, I know.
I'm interested. So that's another good point. We didn't even talk about Marcus Smart. Obviously, I want to talk about Tatum before we finish up, and we have some over-unders to talk about. But I know Emi came out and said he kind of wants Smart to be the primary ball handler. I don't know what you think about that, Seamus. Are you a fan of that? Are you not a fan of that? What do you think?
I think I'm a fan of it if Marcus Smart plays his role. When Marcus Smart plays his role as a facilitator and a playmaker on the defensive end of the floor, he is a perfect player for Celtics. However, if he played a role in which he tried to take over the Kemba Walker role in the 2020 NBA playoffs, that's when we're going to have problems. When he shoots the ball 15-plus times, he takes 10-plus threes, we just can't have that happen. If Marcus Smart does play his role this season, he'll be a perfect fit for the Celtics. If he doesn't, we're going to have clear and evident problems, and that's when you're going to start seeing, we signed him to this extension, but maybe he might be somewhere in terms of a Bradley Beal deal or a Zach LaVine sign and trade. Who knows?
Yeah, for sure. But so someone I do want to talk about, and we never really, I don't know how he doesn't come up on a Celtics podcast, was Jason Tatum. We don't really show him a lot of love, but he's been in the gym. I mean, it looks like if you follow him on Instagram, the man's put on muscle. I'll tell you that. He's put on muscle. His shot looks good. He's looking quick. He's entering his fifth year or fourth year? Fifth year, right? He's entering his fifth season. I want to say.
Well, yeah, he came in 2017.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah.
Damn, 5 years.
Fifth year already.
Yeah.
Half a decade.
So he's entering.
Time's flying by, man.
So what
Ridiculous.
are the expectations here for Tatum? Is the expectation from here on out MVP candidate?
Oh yeah, for sure. Top 5 MVP candidate.
I think he does.
Top 10 at worst. It has to be, because he's gonna be the future of the league. Him and Luka Doncic are gonna be
1 and 2. The next KD
1 and 2 over the next 10 years or so. And that's going to be really exciting to watch. And I'm surprised he hasn't gotten random drug tested by the way that those pictures have come out on Instagram. But I mean, he just looks amazing right now. And if he can have an MVP type season, the Celtics they're gonna go off if he can have an MVP type season. So yeah, I think his expectation is top 5 MVP to top 10 MVP. That's my expectation, at least.
Yeah, I can't stress it enough. Jason Tatum is the future of the NBA. It goes back to Seamus's point. You can't mess up these next 3-4 years, because when you have a guy that could be all-time great, you make him happy. As to what I think this year, how it's going to go, I think you're looking at 28 points per game. I think you're looking at 7 rebounds. I think you're looking at 4 assists and starter all-star, second team All-NBA. And I'm going to give him a MVP candidate top 5. That's what I think.
So he actually makes the All NBA next year.
It's bold. I think it's bold. But hear me out.
He should have made it all this year, man.
Yeah, it was ridiculous that
he should have.
Huge steal.
He's 6'10". Who does this sound like? He's 6'10". He dribbles like a guard. He has an amazing jump shot. He takes him off the dribble, and he plays phenomenal defense. Who does that remind you of?
KD.
He is our generation's Kevin Durant. So this is the year, I think, where you're like, oh wow, it's like you. Let's not forget the second half of last year. He dropped 50 how many times? 4 times.
Yeah, 60 against the Spurs.
And I want to say he dropped 44 or 5 times as well. Casually drops it in game 4?
3.
Game
3.
No, 3 was 50. 4 was 40, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 was 4. Yeah. No, that's my point. Is like he casually is dropping 40-point games, and that's how good he is. Like as a Celtics fans, we we've always talked about it like, oh my, he's gonna be so good. Well, the time's now. This is the season where we're like, wow, this man is generational good.
Yeah, I think we're going to look back at.
No, you go. Seamus, go.
Oh yeah, sorry.
You're good. I was going to say, I think last season is going to be. I think we're going to look back at last season and think that season was really beneficial to Jason Tatum moving forward, because last season, I mean, you look at this roster. I mean, who'd they have to defend other than Jaylen Brown? Were they worried about Smart? Were they really worried about Marcus Smart outside? Were they worried about Thompson? No. Worried about a Shimi Ojale? No. Peyton
Kemba
Pritchard
wasn't even
every
playing.
now and then. Kemba Walker was not even playing half the time, and I always forget about him last season. But have guys they need to defend on the Celtics, and I think Tatum, if the floor opens up for him and send doubles at him all the time, you're going to see just Tatum and even a more ferocious Jaylen Brown for that matter as well. I think Tatum and Brown were like this for years, and I thought Brown was even doing that. However, last season, I mean, Tatum went up to this level. I think they can go as talent takes them, and they are really, really talented forwards.
Justin, you got something to say over there?
No, I mean, what else is there to say? Because, well, I don't really. You guys are just. I like it though. I'm just sitting here watching you guys duke it out.
Yeah.
But,
I know,
but it's agreeable. I mean, it's all kind of, proof in the pudding. It's everything's there. It's all about how it's executed next season. God willing, Jason Tatum stays healthy because, cross our fingers. His first 5 seasons have looked stellar. And it's all about, can Jaylen Brown come back and be the type of player he was last season with that wrist injury?
Yeah.
Who knows? I'm excited.
I have a question for you guys. So, I know Justin is going to agree with me, no question, right? But I think this is finally the first season. No question, actually. This is the first season. It's gone from a question to a statement. This is the first season where Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have a team built around them, right? Last season, they didn't have that. And I think we're going to look at last season. Seamus said it best. It's going to be a huge growth and learning year. I think it's going to be an asterisk. I think COVID hit us, injuries hit us. We got the worst of it. And we still were the 7th seed. And we still won a game against Brooklyn. So, there were positives and there were negatives. But this season, we got guys that finally play defense. We were atrocious defensively last year, who finally space the floor, who allow Brown and Tatum to have the ball in their hands, and they can still be successful. Because when Kemba and Fournier didn't have the ball in their hands, right, they weren't scoring 20 a game. They were useless. They did nothing else. And now we got guys like Schroeder who can make a difference. Smart makes a difference. Horford makes a difference. I want to say Williams makes a difference. So they all make a difference on the court without the ball in their hands. I think that's huge. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, I think they're going to explode this year. God hoping they don't get injured, because that would just be awful. This brings us to our last segment, though. Over-unders. I'm going to pretty much like winners and losers. This one's a little easier, though. You tell me over-under of their points per games this season. I have start off Jason Tatum, 26.5. Does he go over or does he go under?
Over.
Over
for sure.
I think he's right there, like right in that range.
Yeah, it'll probably be like 28, I think. I think Rob said 28 earlier.
Yeah,
I think
a
that's
20.
a good number for him.
We have to establish. So how many points a game do we think the Celtics are going to score? Probably, we'll say 110. So Tatum, 6.5. We'll take the over on that one.
Over. All right. So we got Jaylen Brown, 23.5.
Oh, we'll go over on that one too.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Now we have
over.
We got
What
Dennis
he
Schroeder,
averaged like 24 last year.
Yeah, I was
25,
going to say, I'd say he's
25.
going to average right around 24, 25.
Dennis Schroeder, 17.5.
Under.
Under.
Go on.
Yeah, under.
Under.
Yeah,
I think
Under.
he's just under at like 16.5, 16.
Yeah.
All right. We got
under.
Marcus Smart, 14. I think he goes under.
Depends on how many threes he takes a game.
I
but I'm
honestly
gonna
think
go
he
under.
goes over. I think
me
Marcus
too.
Smart. I think Marcus Smart is going to be an all-star sooner or later.
Oh, you know who we haven't talked
Whoa.
about? Oh, yeah. All right. I don't agree with that, Justin.
I don't care.
I don't know.
I rarely put out hot takes. You're telling me you don't think Marcus Smart will be an all-star by the end of his career? Not once.
Not once.
Really? I think he will.
I mean, maybe if he plays 20 years. If he plays 20 years,
I think it'd be an all-star.
more to
Not
all-star
this year.
game, like
Definitely
Mike
not this
Conley.
year.
Okay, if the Celtics are like the Warriors were back in the day when Draymond Green was an all-star, I feel like that's the only way Marcus Smart becomes an all-star.
I'll tell you what.
opinion.
If we're at the dead, although even still, I think if we're at the All-Star break and we're sitting first in the NBA, I don't think it's Smart who gets it. I think it's Horford who gets it, the third All-Star. But sure, maybe. But you know who we haven't talked about at all? Yeah, or Schroeder. I think Schroeder might make it as well. But you know who we haven't talked about is Josh Richardson. That's another huge addition we brought in was Josh Richardson. 12.5. Does he go over or does he go under?
Say over or under 12.5.
12.5.
Honestly, I feel like that's where he's going to be, to be honest. So I feel like he'd be 12.5.
I agree. All right, we got Al Horford, Big Al, average Al, 10 points.
On Josh Richardson, by the way.
Under? Oh. So he goes under 12.5? Okay.
Yeah.
Justin, you go over under.
For Richardson?
Yeah.
I'm going to say right around 8 to 10. I'd say
so you
under.
go under. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going neutral. I think he hits 12.5. Big Al, average Al, 10 points per game.
Over.
Over?
I think over. I think like 12 to 14.
Over.
Yeah, over.
Over. All right. Peyton Pritchard, 8.5.
Oh, see, it's gonna. I gotta see where Peyton Pritchard fits into this rotation. He's obviously gonna play minutes, but this isn't Brad Stevens' rotation anymore. So we have to see exactly what Emi does. 8.5 was the number.
Yeah.
I think he's right there. If anything, if anything, under. Yeah. If he's not right, he's either right there or under. I don't think he's over.
I think it depends.
I say 6.5, 7 probably. If I have to think.
If Schroeder starts at the 1 and Smart plays the 2, I think he goes over. If Schroeder, however, is coming off the bench and playing the backup 1, I think he goes under.
Yeah.
Well,
he's
a defensive coach. I mean, it could be a season in which Peyton Pritchard hardly sees the floor. Quite honestly, after he could have a Grant Williams season,
turn into a Carson Edwards kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true.
So I thought he would be coming to the league. Quite honestly,
you got really Grant Williams or Carson Edwards? Yeah, I didn't know anything about Peyton Pritchard.
Oh yeah, Carson.
Yeah. So we got Aaron Nesmith, 7.5, over under.
Over.
Way
I
over.
feel like it's going to be over just because, like you say, Udoka's a defensive-minded coach.
Yeah, I think
And
Edie's gonna love Neesmith.
If Neesmith's defense comes around like as good as it was around the end of the year last year, he's gonna get playing time. So I feel like he's gonna get over 7.5.
Do you know what I think is the best part about Aaron Neesmith? Is we drafted him, right, because he was a lights-out shooter. And then all of a sudden, we see this man just like lock up on the defensive side of the ball. And we're like, where did this come from? This was not a part of his whole draft stock. So if his shot can get NBA ready, which I think it can be, I think in the summer league he showed it. I think Neesmith could find himself like playing real minutes for us.
Do you think he could find himself double digits, like low double digits, scoring
Not
like 10, maybe 9,
maybe.
like 9 to 10, maybe 11?
Yeah, I think this season we see Aaron Neesmith prove he's NBA ready, prove he can play real minutes, and then I think if he is to take that next step to starter, we'd see that the year prior to the season, his third season.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think is what we see. And then lastly, go for it. My bad.
I was saying Aaron Neesmith, I think we all should hope that he has a second year similar to Jaylen Brown's second year. I think, even though Jaylen Brown is a star now and rose to those heights, I don't know if Aaron Neesmith will ever get to star level, but they're kind of on the same trajectory of, they were kind of thrown into this role as a rookie and as a forward next to this really, and they may have not been ready, but the next year you want to see that growth and that continued growth of them taking a next step. Jaylen Brown did that in his second year with a competitive team. Obviously, Kyrie, Marcus Morris, Al Horford, those guys, Terry Rozier. I think that is the number one thing we should be looking for this year from Aaron Neesmith is that continued growth like Jaylen Brown in his second year.
So, Seamus, you said you've been covering the C's since 2016, right? So I got a question for you. So you remember Jaylen Brown's – I mean, we all probably do remember Jaylen Brown's rookie season. One thing I remember about his rookie season was how polished his offensive game was, right? How smooth everything came to him, his whether it was his pull-up, whether it was his fadeaway off the post, whether it was his three-ball or driving. His game was polished. He didn't look like a rookie, and I feel like Neesmith towards the end of the season, we kind of saw that, where it's like – his game was getting really polished where he didn't look like a rookie. He kind of was like, could play within the flow of the game, I feel like.
I think Jaylen Brown in his first year wasn't quite as polished as I think we look at Aaron Neesmith's first year compared to Jaylen Brown's first year. I think Jaylen Brown is probably more polished or as polished as Aaron Neesmith in the first part of his second year. First year of Jaylen Brown's career, he acted more like a deer in the headlights player at most times. He did have a lot of good moments, specifically on national TV against the Cavs a couple times, which really should have been the telling factor. This kid has something. But back in his rookie season, he was definitely a player where I believe his rookie high was 19 points, and that was celebrated as if we just won a championship or something that year. But I think, honestly, now, Aaron Neesmith, his progression and where his role is going, what role we think he's going to fill, I think he's closer to progressing into a real player right now than Jaylen Brown was entering his second season.
I want to ask you guys a question, and this might be kind of an obvious answer, but we remember last year how Aaron Neesmith and Peyton Pritchard didn't have a preseason and they didn't have a summer league. Do you think that is going to be the deciding factor to where Neesmith actually becomes he takes the next step from being rookie to his second year being like a somewhat legitimate piece of the offense?
Yeah. I don't think we're going to see a lot of development out of Pritchard. He played 4 years in college. He's the same age as Tatum. I think.
I wasn't talking about Pritchard.
I'm just bringing because you said they're both drafted same draft class, so I'm just speaking generally. So in terms of Pritchard, I think what we see is what we're going to get. A good spark off the bench, 8 points, 7 points, 9 points. He might touch 10 a couple times. As for Neesmith, he's a real he was a real rookie. In being a real rookie, I feel like training. He had not a real training camp. Summer league wasn't there. Barely a preseason. I think that was huge. I think that's huge into like his development. But I do want to talk about Robert Williams because we do have one last over under. I have Robert Williams 8.5 points per game. Does he go over under?
I feel like we've been going over on so many players, but I feel this is actually a legitimate over. Like, I mean, he can catch lobs a game, right, easily. Yeah. I mean, that's 10
if
points.
If he can
like
stay
that.
healthy.
Oh, yes, that is also. But I don't think
if he's healthy, it's over.
Points per game.
I might be the biggest Robert Williams fan like you'll meet. I think he has all-star ceiling. I think he is so good. He's a shot blocker. He was originally in the draft. He was supposed to be drafted top 10. He is between his attitude, his injury, he fell. And I think this season is the season where I don't know if we're going to see it scoring wise. It might be, through defense or block shots, but this season is where Robert Williams absolutely goes on a tear, I think. So I mean,
theoretically, yeah.
Yeah, I think
theoretically, yeah.
Can I ask you guys something?
I mean,
yeah.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Seamus. I'll say it after you. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying that Robert Williams, I mean, if he's healthy this season, I totally agree with his point of he's going on a tear. I mean, this season. This is supposed to be the season in which Robert Williams truly out of his shell.
Yeah.
Because we know what we have now.
Yeah, exactly. We do. I don't know if I should say I don't ever, because we talked about this earlier in the podcast where the game is really, developing and you're seeing guys 1 through 5 shoot, more than three pointers a game. Maybe not right now, but do you guys see Robert Williams extending his range? We've kind of saw him last year extend his range a little bit to the mid-range. Do we see him, maybe not this year, but do we see him kind of extend his game out to the 3-point line? Maybe it's more like a Blake Griffin type, where Blake Griffin was always athletic. He was always a post-dominant player, and then as his career went on, he slowly developed a 3-point shot. Do we see a shot being formed out of Robert Williams in the future?
I think so. I don't think he'll ever get to a level where like he's a consistent 3-point shooter. Where,
like maybe 1 or 2 corner threes.
But I think he gets to a point. I think he's going to have to get to a point where you can't leave him. Where if he's open, he'll pull it. He can knock it down.
Yeah, I feel like he might turn into like what Aaron Baines did for that season, where he shot threes just at like the top of the key. And I mean, he doesn't have like a worse teacher or like a better teacher than Al Horford, who, Al Horford can probably teach him a little bit about shooting outside, because I can't remember, but I don't think Al always had a 3-point shot.
No, he didn't.
So
until his like final year or two of Atlanta, I think it was like his final year of Atlanta, he like really developed the 3. Same thing for like Brook Lopez, guys like that too.
So I feel like, if anything, I feel like Al will try to at least show him, like in what situations he could use a 3. But I feel like eventually he'll develop, and if it's not a 3, it'll just be a mid-range.
Yeah.
Where it'll be like what Enes Kanter did, where you just pass it to Kanter and like around the mid-range and he shoots it. So
Kanter popped a few 3s sometimes though. He did hit him a couple times, but I will say, yeah, he would probably be somewhat like that. That's what I'm thinking. I saw Robert Williams. Does anyone remember the bubble? I saw Robert Williams pop a corner 3. He completely bricked it, but I was like totally caught off guard. I was like, what the hell did I just see?
He had 100% confidence that was going in.
We were probably up by 30 or down by 30 at the time, I'd assume, because no way would like Robert Williams just pull trigger from 3. And it was not deep in the shot clock either, so maybe he just had a Dwight Howard moment.
I feel like, didn't he start like 7 for 7 in the bubble?
Yeah,
like, he went insane at the start of the bubble. I think that's why he did it. He just had to heat check himself to make sure he
I know.
hit it.
I think there's a stat where I think we've said on the podcast, but isn't there a stat where like he has more blocks and missed field goals?
Yeah,
isn't that insane? And he's only getting better. And like it stinks that I'm not saying we would have won the series against Brooklyn, but like based off of that game one we saw against Brooklyn, like we could have seen so much more potentially out of Robert Williams. And early on in Robert Williams' career, he played third string, sometimes even fourth string. He was on the same team as Aaron Baines, Al Horford. Even go out and you can say
Daniel Tice was the third string. Yeah,
Daniel Tice, and there was another center. I'm completely blowing
Greg Monroe.
Greg Monroe. But, and he's kind of been tucked away, but now he's finally starting to come out of his shell. And last season, Celtics were, 11-3, 10-3 when he started, something like that. They had a pretty good record.
Yeah. So, Robert Williams is going to be huge for us. And I think he's one of those key factors that are going to play into a role on whether or not, this team goes far. However, with that being said, we have come to an end. We've hit our time with this podcast. Like I say it every episode, start to finish. Go follow all of us on social media. If for some strange reason, which I highly doubt, you're not following Celtics, Seamus, celtics.everyday, go do it. He's one of the biggest Celtic accounts out there, so you probably are following him.
Very consistent with posting. I got to say, I've been doing this since 2016, Seamus. This is the first time we met. We've talked before, but the reason that you are one of my favorite, easily you are my favorite Celtic page, is not because we started at the same time, but because of how up to date you are with your posting. What is that like for you? I know we hit our time, but what is that like for you? You get news out before the news is actually out sometimes. What is that like for you? Sometimes your schedule might be busy, sometimes it might be a bit more relaxed. What's your secret?
Be a robot, be a machine, like anything in life. It's just literally just like, if you just keep pounding all the time, you're just going to break through eventually, just at anything. So that's kind of the same thing. That's kind of the philosophy I have with my page. I just keep going. I mean, just keep making stuff, just keep working at any moment you can. And that's just what I try to do. And I have fun with it too. That's also the most important thing. Have fun. I mean, it's not all busy work and whatnot. So
yeah, because I've been doing this. I've been doing this as well since 2016, and you kind of have fun doing it. Like, I don't know about you, Seamus, but like when I'm making a little edit here, whether it's for the podcast or whether it's for the Celtics page, like it's genuinely fun, and you learn a lot of things outside of just Celtics basketball. So it's a lot of fun.
Well,
but yeah.
So you two, Justin, and even Ian, so you guys are, your faces are pretty well known in terms of the Celtics, community out on Instagram. It's Celtics every day. It's Justin. It's the insiders. The insiders are huge. Green runs deep. And Ian controls the TikTok Celtic side of everything. So for me as a guy who's just kind of new to this, I started up this account. What was it, in April, Justin?
Yeah.
So I gotta say, it is hard. Like the fact that you are so consistent, the insiders are so consistent. Justin and I hire someone to make our graphics for us, two guys, because it's just so hard to stay consistent. And I don't know how you do it, but I mean, it's impressive.
I've started getting a Photoshop too, which was like really tough for me. But like I cranked out a couple of edits last night, and I was pretty freaking impressed with myself. I was like, dude, I should have learned this 5 years ago. Jesus Christ! I used to have the most basic edits like ever. Like I literally just like put like 2 pictures together and like call it a day. But I've noticed, Seamus, I don't know about you. Obviously, you have a lot bigger following. But have you ever noticed, maybe even early on, if you like, sometimes I'll put like effort into editing a post, and it will get 0. No, I'm not even looking for likes, by the way. I'm not looking for any clout, but it'll get like 0 like likes or comments or anything. Like, but if I just take a picture of my TV, like I used to take final score pictures of my TV, used to get like 8,000 to 2,000 likes. But if I go ahead, make a graphic and type out a thing, it'll get like 200 to 300 likes, and I'm like, like you guys need, like I'm putting the effort in here.
That always happens. That is my number one pet peeve. I talk about that with everyone I know. I'm like, I put effort into these posts. These get no likes, and I'll post a picture of like, oh look, oh, look, Deuce is riding his bike, and everyone's like. It's like,
I know. It's insane. Like, I was praying to God. I don't know if you saw it, but this gains and losses post I have right here, I spent a good hour or two working on this because I'm just getting started to Photoshop, and it got 700 likes, and I'm pretty impressed because I was like, usually on posts like this, I get absolutely no engagement. That would have just set me off.
Honestly, yeah, that's
that's
something
right
that like I'm just so impressed with you, Seamus, on how you can do that.
Yeah.
Because even your post game coverages, like, you know, I read all of your stuff, and you go so deep into the analysis that like I don't think any other page does. Which is why I think
I can't be the only one waiting for Locker Vision to open up now. No? Are you waiting? I'm waiting for Locker Vision to open up. I'm trying to see what new uniforms we got going on in the league, bro.
Oh, yes. For some reason, when you said Locker Vision, I thought of Locker Room, the app. I'm like,
no.
Yeah.
I thought it.
No.
I thought Locker Vision. That is the best link that has ever existed. Ever. I've like for years. From 2016 to now, I've been like, can I just see the G matchups, please? And this season, they're like, here you go. Like, thank you,
I'm
NBA.
the biggest jersey
Thank you, Adam.
ever. Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Oh, but I have a perfect example here of what we were just talking about. So I spend a little bit in this post about – so this post right here, I don't know if you can see it, the draft board. So that's the 19 draft board. And that's actually what the draft board looked like. So yeah, when Paul Pierce was drafted. That's actually what the draft board looked like image right here. Like I remade it on Photoshop.
Yeah.
So that gets, 1,400 likes. You know what? That's good. But then I post a picture, Deuce Tatum learns how to ride his bike. Now 3,100 likes.
Get like $3,000.
Right. I will say that is breaking news, though.
Those posts are very
deny
simple.
that.
Yeah.
He learns how to ride his bike. Yeah, that's just where we're at in the offseason.
And Instagram algorithms are so weird. Like every time I post a promotion, it'll get 0 engagement. Like, and it's not like people just scroll by it and don't like it. It's literally you can click on it and see the stats. It gets 0 engagement. Like every time, it's like Instagram doesn't want you to make any profit or like be successful in content creation.
I know, it's ridiculous. We're on their app too. We're the one growing their app.
Yeah, I know. We're promoting the brand.
We don't get any kickback. We don't.
That's low-key the same thing on TikTok too.
Oh,
that's the same thing on TikTok, bro. Like you make a video, and I mean, honestly, I don't make videos for views and likes and stuff. But you make a video, you spend like an hour or an hour or two just making the video, and then it's like doesn't do as well as like the one video that was like 5 seconds long.
Well, something I found pretty cool in my 5 months of running a Celtics account. Well, I used to do it back in the day. I used to steal all Justin's work. I used to
so annoying. It was so annoying.
I think it was Celtics I forget what it was called, but it was a low tier account. But I used to run it. I used to steal all of Justin's work. So coming into this, something I've noticed is it is like I feel like it's such hit or miss. Like we have graphics that like we think will hit and we'll get like 200 likes, which like for us right now, 200 likes is pretty solid. But like some of these like we have like random like matchups versus the Grizzlies that will hit like 1,200, and we're like,
yeah, I don't understand that either. I don't get it either.
Yeah,
like I don't get it either.
But like I said, thank you guys so much for listening in. This is our longest episode yet. Thank you, Seamus, for coming on. Hopefully we'll see you again as the season. Maybe you'll make some post-game. We do post-game coverage, so hopefully maybe you can make one of those. This is Rob. I'm the host.
I can make good. Anytime.
Awesome. That's Justin. That's Ian. Seamus. I'm sure you'll see Seamus again, guys. Thank you so much for listening. And peace. Go Celtics.
Yep, go Celtics.